To really be able to understand why conspiracy theories work, you kind of have to understand how complexity works. Now, before I start, because I can often sound as if complexity is everything, complexity isn't everything. It's a bit of an old theory now, and I'm not very up to date. But I can give you the maths. So complexity simply says that if you've got any system where you've got a lot of variables, all interrelated one to the other, so that one goes off and another one goes off, another one responds, and they go around in a circuit. Sooner or later, if you get enough variables, you get order emerging for free. Okay, it's kind of like movement cartoons, but much more complicated than that. So bodies emerge not because genes tell things in bodies to do this or that, although that does happen, absolutely does happen. But the basic form of two legs, two arms, etc., is actually got because it is one of the mathematically stable forms that this kind of system produces, or ecosystems, eco balances. If an ecology, we're about to find out, goes down into chaos, then you get a whole sequence of extinctions and extinctions, and then gradually over time, what's left feeds in backwards and forwards, and you gradually get a relatively stable system that lasts for a while. Now, these complexities are metastable, so they're kind of stable, but they can always break down. Okay, um, but it can get increasingly hard to break them down. So, in all kinds of things like human societies, kind of the order emerges not because anybody makes it, but just because it kind of floats along the top. It's what happens when people respond to people. I mean, the classic theory of this that is treated by its agents as the only theory is the hand of destiny in the free market. A free market which optimizes the overall good of humanity is a classic early theory of this. That I sell you something, you sell me something, we sell them to somebody else, and in the end, the structure that emerges benefits us all. Okay, it's in Spinoza, for that matter. Human bodies are made by the interreaction of a very large number of other bodies. That's Spinoza's theory, and it's basic idea that if you want to have order existing at levels below the bottommost order, so you want to have matter below the subatomic particles, you have to have a system that either has everything defined by the base level or the order comes for free. Okay? And the maths is clear that the order can always come for free. So that means patterns emerge, but nobody's pushing them. That's fundamentally it. Foucault made an entire late career on understanding how power creates power and knowledge together, create systems that emerge, patterns that you can see, great changes. But nobody's actually defining the great change. It's just a whole sequence of small moves, as each responds to the other. And bingo, suddenly everything has changed. And you go from a system where you have the murderous law, where people were hung for stealing a small piece of cloth, to a system of incarceration. And it happens within about 30 years. That's discipline and punish. Okay? And once you know about complexity theory, one of the silly little reductionist games you can play with philosophy is go through it. They're a complexity theorist. They're a complexity theorist. Leibniz has a theory of bodies that is pure complexity theory. So bodies aren't caused by anything because what's real in Leibniz is things called monads, which we're not going to go into. But bodies emerge as an epiphenomena. But you switch it around and you make the epiphenomena real to the thing that emerges. And bingo. You've got a good theory. Okay? Now, the real problem is that if you're getting order for free, it will always look like that order was somehow already in the system. If you're observing it and you see that, and you're used to kind of the standard way we understand, where you have ingredients build things, okay? You'll go, well, those ingredients must have come together like bricks in a building, and the order will have been somehow concealed within the constituent parts. Okay? It's just the natural way we tend to understand these. Go back to Leibniz. Leibniz discovered complexity theory, but then hid the discovery by pretending that the order already existed in something else. Okay? because there's something a bit unsettling that the order comes for free, because it means there doesn't need to be God. Let's be very clear about that, because the order is just a mathematical probability. What's the link with conspiracy theory? Well, the link is multifold, so many levels. On one level, if you are a conspiracy theorist, you would believe that the order that emerges for free was already intended within the system. And that's one sort of conspiracy, and is always wrong. Okay? However, if the order emerges for free and becomes something like a company or a university, something big and powerful and useful, then people will defend it. And that's where you get the conspiracies, because often, of course, that order emerges for free by suppressing something. And that something can be a little bit of knowledge. And I wouldn't think there was any human organization that didn't at the heart of it have a few squalid little secrets, a few actual truths that's being suppressed, that are in the glamour and the glitz of the big thing that they create, we willingly forget. Okay? I mean, living in the Ariège, which is the green capital of food in France, it's not the only one, but it's a major one. One of the things you very, very quickly get indoctrinated on is the food philosophy. Okay? Which is that actually, for instance, the way we have fiddled with an awful lot of seeds. I was watching a French one on the seed catalogue. That is the set of legitimate seeds that are allowed to be used, okay, for reasons of health that nobody can define. But they basically suit very big corporations, and they mean that the entire seed and hybrid organization can be owned by a few people. It's about property. It's about then power, and the reason for that property, for that power, it's a whole set of little decisions. Nobody went out to create those organizations, but once they've emerged, they defend them because they make profit and because they're powerful. Okay? And that defense involves kind of deliberately ignoring things. So the obvious one, but the one I was watching today, and you probably all know about, is gluten. Why is there so much in gluten intolerance? It's because they've changed the way they do glutens in bread, because of the grain manufacturers. In the seed catalogue, the grains you use tend to produce longer, more complicated gluten chains that the human gut is not so good at digesting. Okay? Now, that's a little truth. I've known it for a very long time. Okay? And lots of people kind of know it. And if you ask the people in charge, they don't even deny it. They just obfuscate. Okay? They obfuscate. They try and pretend that it isn't true. They try and turn the blind eye, or say it's somebody else's problem, or that it's kind of real, but, okay? Now, is that a conspiracy? Well, it's not secret, okay? It's not hidden. I know it, you know it. The people in charge know it. We all know it. But the point is that the organizations that, ignoring that fact, have created are so big and so powerful and have their own dynamics, and also create a system that effectively feeds a large chunk of the West, that changing it feels too difficult and too dangerous because it will push you back into a system of chaos. So effectively, there is a conspiracy, but it's small. That conspiracy is defending an order for fear of chaos. And if you think about everything that, all the reasons that humanity don't change in the face of climate emergency, they come down to pretty similar reasons. That there is a fear that it will open up, you'll have to unpick all the established structures, and therefore you're just going to ignore the data that says, if we don't do this, we're going to die, because it's too politically difficult to unpick these big structures. Complexity, therefore, creates a system where conspiracy theories are correct, but not quite as they seem. It's one of those very curious things. Now, I'm certainly not saying that all conspiracies are correct, and I'm certainly not saying that all conspiracy theories are like this. But large chunks of them are, okay? So that's explanation one. I'll have another video for another sort of conspiracy, another way that the way knowledge emerges actually creates conspiracy if you notice stuff. But I'll talk about that another time.